Good morning. My name is Johnny. I'm one of the life group leaders at Huddersfield Elim. And this morning I'd like to share some thoughts with you on Exodus chapter 19, verses 16 to 19. I've been thinking a lot about spending more time in God's presence, but more how to approach those times. Because at the moment I usually try and clear any clutter, clear my mind so that I can be peaceful, that I can seek refreshment and be reflective. But I'm looking for other ways to approach those times. Let's see how the Israelites felt when they met with God on Mount Sinai in Exodus 19. So reading from verse 16. On the morning of the third day, there was thunder and lightning, with a thick cloud over the mountain, and a very loud trumpet blast. Everyone in the camp trembled. Then Moses led the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because the Lord descended on it in fire. The smoke billowed up from it like smoke from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled violently. As the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and the voice of God answered him. So how's this encounter being described here? We've got thunder and lightning, first of all. A loud trumpet blast, I imagine like that in a war that resounds off the hills. Smoke billowing like out of a furnace, thick, black. Fire consuming the mountain. It wasn't just the people that were trembling, it was the mountain itself. We've got the voice of God in amongst all of this, which in Hebrew is often synonymous with thunder. And then the people themselves are told, not in those verses I've read, but elsewhere in the chapter, that if they approach the mountain, if they go up it, that they will be killed. So what mindset does this give us? Well, it's fear, there's power, might, frightened, awesome, terror. How does that go against, still small voice, and that God keeps us under his wing like a hen protecting her chicks? And what's God trying to do here? Is he trying to scare the people? Is he trying to prove something to them? Well, no, he's already carried them this far. He's already saved them and brought them here. He calls them his treasured possession. Earlier in the chapter, it talks about he carried them on eagle's wings. So he's already done everything, and he already has shown his love for them. He doesn't need to, make a show. So what is this? Well, it's part of God's character. It's his glory, it's his holiness. And how does that reflect against those times of, being close to God? Well, it's one of those beautiful dichotomies in the Bible where we see both God's holiness and God's tenderness, and that they are often in tension with each other. This, for me, is drawn in the symbol that is used here of fire, where fire it can be a life-giving thing, it can bring us warmth, but at the same time, if you get too close, you burn yourself on it. So what's the solution here? Well, the solution for the Israelites in this case was Moses. Moses came as the mediator for the covenant of the law. He could go up into God's presence, receive, and then give that to the people. For ourselves, it's different. For ourselves, we have Jesus. Jesus is the mediator of the new covenant. Jesus is the one that can enter God's glory and holiness, and on our behalf, speak for us, beseech God for us. Now, the writer of Hebrews in chapter 12 has already done the thinking for us here, and I encourage you to read verses 18 to 24. In verses 18 to 21, it talks about the mountain of fear, and it goes over some of the symbols that we've already read in Exodus 19. But let me read from verse 22, where it tells us about what we have now. But you have come to Mount Zion, to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. You have come to thousands upon thousands of angels in joyful assembly, to the church of the firstborn, whose names are written in heaven. You have come to God, the judge of all, to the spirits of the righteous made perfect, to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel. This, then, is how we can approach God's presence with joy. And this is my challenge for myself and my challenge for you, that next time you spend some time in God's presence, you come with awe and fear because of God's glory and holiness, but then you also come with joy because we have a mediator that allows us to enter God's presence, that allows us to go alongside that joyful assembly of angels and be part of the spirit of the righteous made perfect. Let me pray to finish. Father, Lord, I pray that today and throughout this week you can give us times in your presence. And I pray that in those times you can bowl us over with your awe. But I pray also that we can just be so joyful in your presence that we can know all that you have done and all that Jesus does for us to bring us into that presence. We pray glory and honor to your name, Father. Amen.